Welcome, everybody. I'm Gerry Condon, one of the coordinating committee members for the VFP Nuclear Abolition Working Group. And this is our monthly meeting. We meet on the fourth Friday of every month and organize occasional webinars with large audiences. And we have we have a special guest today, Tim and Wallace from Warheads to Windmills. We're going to be talking about how VFP and Warheads to Windmills and others can collaborate on a couple of weeks of action in mid and late September. And we have several other things on the agenda. John Wilkes is going to share with us some of the latest updates from the depleted uranium folks. I believe that's what he's going to do. And we have a few other things we can talk about, the progress of the Golden Rule, etc. But our main topic is definitely going to be organizing for the ICAN Global Week of Action and then some. Before we get started, though, I want to just go around and give everybody a chance to briefly introduce themselves and tell us what's on their mind, as long as it doesn't take too long to empty the brain. So start with our host and the co-host of VFP Radio, Jim Wolgamut.
All right, and I just made Tim and Wallace host of this for right now, so he can present and share. And I'll move it on. I'll have enough to say about Tennessee later on.
Okay, I'll skip you, Tim, and I'll let you introduce yourself again. Carol Gloiber?
Okay, yeah, Carol, I'm here in Fresno, California, and yesterday, Josh and I did our first dry run of our podcast episode, so we're just about ready to publish.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Which Josh, Carol? Who's Josh?
Shirley?
Joshua Shirley is the Vice President of Veterans for Peace,
okay.
And a really terrific guy.
I need a copy right away, Carol.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Carol, you were saying, you were telling us you also submitted a resolution or a...
No, I stole Greg Corning's idea for that proclamation, and I got some signatures, and I took it to the city council meeting yesterday. Very well received, and then I'm going to go forward now with the proclamation.
Excellent.
What is it about? What is the proclamation?
It just said, we believe we have the right to live in a peaceful world free from the threat of nuclear war. That was it. Very simple, very easy. I mean, yeah.
Okay. Vic White, please.
Yes, hi. I'm with the San Diego chapter, and this is just perfect for us. The Global Week occurs right when we're getting lots of press attention around our shut down military air shows effort. So I'm here to learn about what other people are doing and ask our board to do similar.
Great. Thanks so much. Alice.
I'm in New York. I'm just, around the internet with everything, trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. I wrote an article about there's news now that South Korea wants to get their own nukes because of the alliance now between Russia, China, and North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote an article about that. I think I sent it to you, but it's ironic that China and Russia are joining up because of our posture towards Russia with Ukraine and China arming Taiwan. And the reason we made peace with China, Nixon and Kissinger, those great peaceniks, they were afraid that China and Russia were getting too close to each other. So we made friends with China. And now we're putting them together again. This is ironic. I mean, this is ironic.
Did you say moronic? Alice, did you say moronic?
They rhyme. I like that.
Right, get that right for the notes, Greg. Okay, John Wilkes, please.
Yes, I'm John Wilkes. I'm the Vice President of the Albuquerque chapter of VFP. I'm also the co-chair of the Depleted Uranium Landmine and Cluster Munition Working Group, I'm hoping to share some time with you today and update you on the crisis situation we have in New Mexico.
Okay, we're going to put you right up after our initial discussion with Tim and Susan Lamont.
Yeah, I'm in Sonoma County, California, and I'm a member of the Veterans for Peace chapter, Green Party of Sonoma County, Peace and Justice Center, Sonoma County for Palestine, and I'm hoping to work with the resolution that was just talked about and get all those groups together to take it to all the city councils essentially in Sonoma County.
Terrific. Thank you, Susan. Greg?
Yep, I am well, I'm just north of Santa Fe. I'm the president of the Santa Fe chapter of Veterans for Peace. And big deal this week was Monday with the meeting with Department of Energy and NNSA people, where like I know John was there virtually, and so he's probably can tell you a little bit about it. What the way to summarize it was that Ken Mayers, our secretary, came out of the meeting and he said, one thing more powerful than nuclear weapons is denial. It's like, these people are just like walking around with their heads in a box. They're nuts. Anyway, so there's some energy, I came around a corner today and I saw these people painting the side of a building, and I had to find out, and it's like these activist type guys that are making, he showed me the artist's conception. It's going to be a huge mural with beautiful imagery from old photos and, atomic bomb tests, and going to go around the other side of the building, and it's going to have, it's all anti-nuke stuff. And I guess the building's owner, welcomed them to do this. It's
Nice.
great.
Excellent. Cool. Susan Kim?
Yeah, hi. I'm from Toledo, Ohio, and one of the organizers with the Northwest Ohio Peace Coalition. I'm a little tired, sorry. And I've been working on nuclear abolition since the Ukraine, actually, war. And we did a big deal when the Golden Rule came to Toledo. I had a 4-day event. That was, I believe that Toledoans were enraptured with what they learned and who they met. And anyhow, so for this time around, I'm here to learn what others are planning or thinking of planning for September. I have, as usual, a flood of ideas, and I really have to tone it down. So, but I do have a list, kind of a short list, but I don't think you want me to go through it. But it's involving films, film screenings.
We'd like to go through your short list.
Okay, I'll just puzzle.
Not right now, though.
Okay, fine.
A little bit later. Russell Brown, unmute yourself, please.
There we go. Yes, I'm from Buffalo, and we're looking forward to doing something with this upcoming anti-nuke stuff. So, and also we do a lot of stuff around ceasefire. And anyhow, those are the two main things we're working on.
Okay, Terry Lodge.
I am also in Toledo, Ohio, and work with Susan in the Northwest Ohio Peace Coalition. We're kicking around several ideas for September, one of which is that Toledo has a fairly sizable Arab American population that has been very significant and active in resisting the genocide. But like all admirable young activists, they don't know very much at all about the bomb. And in particular, one of my objectives and one of the things I'm proud of in working with Veterans for Peace is that in February or March, I ghost wrote a letter that VFP sent, a second letter they sent to Secretary Blinken, demanding that a particular provision of the Arms Export Control Act be enforced that has never been enforced against Israel, which is that any nation that has not signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty is immediately disqualified from receiving any aid, essentially almost any type of aid, but certainly military aid from the United States. And it would require an act of Congress to restore aid to that nation. That's a provision that we need to be playing up an awful lot right now with the utter lack of accountability that the Biden administration is continually showing us. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Terry. All right. Well, welcome. Wonderful collection of experienced activists here. And so welcome to the monthly meeting of the VFP Nuclear Abolition Working Group. We've been meeting for, I think, 3.5 years now, is it? We used to meet twice a month, and one of those monthly meetings would be an educational meeting. And eventually we spun off that to do larger webinars with larger audiences. They've been very successful and well received. And now we're so busy that we're meeting just once a month. Of course, one of our big accomplishments is the writing and producing and distributing the Veterans for Peace Nuclear Posture Review, which we're very proud of, and we're working on putting some updating addendums in there and getting it out there again. At our last meeting, or maybe even the last 2 meetings, we've expressed our unanimous decision and enthusiasm about organizing for the ICAN Global Week of Action, No Money for Nuclear Weapons, September 16th to 22nd. We had a number, about half a dozen of us raised our hands to work as Russell, please mute.
You asked if you were here for something after this.
Please mute, Russell.
I don't know that you need to get up right now. Whatever. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to mute. Okay, everybody should be muted, especially if they've got other noise that might occur in the background. All right. So hope we didn't lose Russell. Well, he'll probably be back. So as I was saying, we had a number of us have raised our hands to work as a subcommittee to start developing resources and a package of resources we could provide to the VFP chapters. And we didn't manage to have that meeting this month. So here we are. This is our first serious organizing meeting. I did present this to the VFP board of directors. I'm on the board. At our meeting last Saturday, they unanimously voted to endorse the ICAN Week of Action and to support our working group organizing efforts, which means we'll have some staff time and some national e-blasts and whatnot that we can do to help get the word out to all the chapters and encourage people to participate. And then in the meantime, so that's great news. And in the meantime, we heard from Timon and other people that the Warheads to Windmills Coalition is also planning to mobilize folks to take action during not only the ICAN Week of Action for No Money for Nuclear Weapons, but the following week of action, which is another global call that's addressing climate as well as peace. So that seems like a great opportunity for a collaboration between Veterans for Peace and Warheads and Windmills to maximize our forces and to have a real successful, strong weeks of action. So with that said, Timon Wallace, who heads up the Warheads and Windmills Coalition, is here with us, and I'm going to turn the floor over to him so he can kind of give us a vision and what the Warheads and Windmills vision is for that week of action. And he's got some good resources to share with us. He's going to be able to share a screen. So go ahead, Timon. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, thank you, Gerry, and everybody else. I'm very honored to be with you all, and I'll just share some of the ideas and resources that we are working on. But we would certainly like to collaborate with all of you and look for ways that we can work together on this, because we're very keen to be promoting the ICAN Week of Action and and focusing very specifically on the companies. So our focus, we've been focusing on Congress and other activities, letters to President Biden and so on, but we're now wanting to use these weeks of action to really step up the pressure on these companies that are holding the world to ransom and have so much more influence on Congress than we have. So these are some of the call to action that we're putting together right now, and these are the companies I'm sure you're all familiar with, but we're targeting, as Gerry said, the nuclear companies one week, and then the fossil fuel companies the next week, or they may well overlap and so on. And we were just discussing also wanting to focus on the banks, BlackRock and Bank of America, and some of these big financial institutions which are financing both of these fossil fuel and nuclear weapons companies. Let me just find the. So this is the Warheads to Windmills website. If you want to go there to the events page, pressuring the profiteers. We have some media tools, mostly from ICAN at the moment, but there's various things here. Those that we saw. There's some more. There's a draft press release, and these are all from ICAN. And then what I was excited to show you, it's brand new today actually, is the map where we've had a volunteer put over 800. Okay, now wait a second. Oh yeah, here we are. So can you all see this? So there's we're focusing initially on just a few of the main companies that we know we have already activists targeting in different parts of the country. So you see BAE Systems in purple. You can actually just click on. Wait, what do we do? I forget how you work this, but anyway, there's a system. Oh, I know. Over here, you can just look at one company at a time. Yeah, BAE Systems. If we look at L3 Harris, for example. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, anyway, these are all the offices and plants and sites in the country that we've been able to locate so far. Anyway, I mean this is Huntsville, Alabama, but there's a site near you, and what we're let me see. Yeah, so we started this idea a few weeks ago with the idea that we could get groups in different parts of the country to focus on one company on one day of that week, so that we can all be going to L3 Harris, for example, or all going to Honeywell, and really drive home, their role in the nuclear weapons business. Get social media out there, get pictures taken. Some people want to, or on a regular basis are out at these places anyway, doing blockades and arrestable civil disobedience. Others are just, holding banners. We have this treaty compliance unit concept that we've done in several of these places, where we dress up in hazmat suits and we have signs that say this activity is prohibited by the nuclear ban treaty, and other groups in Norfolk, Virginia, our group there that works on Huntington Ingalls, for example. They want to, sit out there with coffee and donuts and offer them to the workers as they go into work. I mean, whatever people want to do, but to draw attention to these places. And at the moment, we have, as I mentioned, Huntington Ingalls in Norfolk, Virginia. We have the group in Tucson, Arizona with Raytheon, and we have a Raytheon group in Boston, Massachusetts. We have the Honeywell, the nuclear plant in Kansas City, Missouri, the group focusing on that one. So we have General Dynamics, various places, L3 Harris in New Jersey and also in Massachusetts. So we're trying to link up we're using at the moment, we're asking people to go to the ICAN events page. They have a special page for, I think it's showing on here. Let's see. Oh, geez. I'm not very good at controlling this map yet. But if you scroll down here, yeah, here's some of the different ideas, the treaty compliance units, where you can civil disobedience, and then there's banners that you can download and print. There's leaflets. I forgot what I was looking for, but anyway, there are nice tools. We want to keep building on this and collaborating with VFP groups and others. You know, a lot of Catholic worker groups around the country are doing things at these places, and we're working with the War Industry Resistors Network that are focused on some of these companies, and of course, you know, they're the same companies on the nuclear business that are responsible for, you know, sending weapons to Israel. They're the same companies that are the focus of campaigns about drones and other specific weapon systems. So if we can collaborate with some of these other groups, and in particular with the climate groups, because as I said, we're going to focus also on the banks and the fossil fuel companies that are also threatening the planet. So that's the basic concept. We want to encourage divestment and boycotting of these companies as we're doing the demonstrations and actions at the companies, to also get, you know, student groups demanding that their college, you know, divests. And if there are these weeks earlier in September that are focused specifically on the war machine and the funding for Gaza, we were thinking we'd try to get them to join in here, because many of them are just getting back to college, you know, that first week of September. So this gives them a couple of weeks to get organized, which isn't much, but, you know. And of course, there are a lot of groups doing things for Hiroshima Day and around that time. So we're hoping once that's out of the way, in the second week of August, we can start to really promote this idea of going to your nearest nuclear weapons company. So I don't know, you got any questions about that or anything else you want me to share?
Well, that's great. That's exciting, and it gives us a lot to work with. And I just wanted to mention, though, that there's as I was saying earlier when the coordinating committee was meeting, that there's another group of folks, including some of us here, who are all in Veterans for Peace, who are also pushing for and will be organizing, probably for the first week of September, actions calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and no more U.S. weapons to Israel. And they are also focusing on, and already have done some actions, Jack Gilroy and those folks have already done some actions at weapons manufacturers. And they're going to have a workshop at the VFP convention about how to organize actions at weapons manufacturers. And they're calling for people to join them in doing civil disobedience and other actions at weapons manufacturers in the first week of September. So assuming that that continues to gain momentum and it's a reality, so we're looking at the first week of September, the third week of September, and the fourth week of September for a variety of actions that all have some things in common: weapons, targeting the weapons manufacturers. And I wouldn't be surprised if something comes in to fill that second week as well. So we're going to have a month of protest and resistance, and it's important that we coordinate in a way that we don't conflict with one another, and in fact that we boost one another. And I think that's quite possible in this case, although it might be tricky sometimes in terms of, you know, keeping the focus on the messaging for the week. But these things all do connect, as we know. So that's pretty exciting. I'd like to hear some other thoughts and ideas for what we could do that week, and also how we best organize ourselves to carry those things out. I see that Susan Lamont just asked me in the chat here, do you know there's a General Dynamics plant in Healdsburg? Good to know. That's in our territory in up Northern California. I'm going to be with the Golden Rule during that time, and we're going to be up in the Pacific Northwest. I welcome other input. Susan had several ideas on her list of things that we might do, I think, during that week. Susan, is that what it was?
Well, it was in the Toledo area, in Columbus area type.
Okay.
What, you want me to run them down, or?
Well, it was like specific targets you have in that area, or anything that can be generalized and used by others. Please share.
Well, I don't know. Film screening ideas were to start with the day after, which I feel I screened last year, and it was really effective and profound experience for those who attended. And then follow that up with first we bomb New Mexico to keep in line with the Trinity situation, and Los Alamos. I'd have to get permission from the director and producer on that because it's not commercially available yet. But there's a good chance I could. After that, Downwinders film screening on the Utah, Nevada downwinders and injuries affected by the explosions. That might be too many, but okay. I know Kevin Camps of Beyond Nuclear. He would be near, and he could probably present. And then a panel presentation rather, on the decommissioning of Portsmouth gaseous plant down in Piketon, Ohio, and the cancer that's been caused throughout the population and the water supply and the soil supply, et cetera, that Terry's been working on with a number of people down there. It'll be a panel of that contamination, either a hybrid event with one of the residents who's the lead. Et cetera, et cetera.
So Susan, those are great ideas, but I would say the focus for the week of action is going to be protest as opposed to films and panels. And that doesn't mean people can't do films and panels during that week, but so perhaps there are some other types of activities.
So we do have a direct action that we've been thinking about organizing for in Columbus on the 26th, which is the International Day of Abolition of Nuclear Weapons, or Elimination of Nuclear Weapons at Battelle in Columbus. Terry can fill you in a little bit more on that facility, but it manages Los Alamos lab. It manages what is the cat? Anyhow, it manages 6 or more national nuclear laboratories and their personnel, and it's a major force in the nuclear industry. And it's been there's been actions against it in person before, and we'd like to do it again. And then to also just reiterate what Terry was saying about combining efforts with the Muslim and Palestinian community here on education of the bomb in Israel.
Great. A lot of good ideas. Thank you. Terry, did you want to add anything to that while we're on Toledo?
Only to add that Battelle Memorial Institute is a World War II Manhattan Project contractor that had actually they predate World War II, but in any event, I think they are the management overseer of either 5 out of 7 or 6 out of 9 DOE laboratories, including INL.
Great. Well, anyway, this is very exciting, and I hope that all of us will want to start organizing, take action during those weeks. We're certainly going to be promoting this repeatedly to Veterans for Peace, including at the VFP, the upcoming Veterans for Peace convention. And while I'm at it, I'll encourage everybody to buy ads for the convention booklet, which will also be, since it's an online convention, there is a printed booklet that's going to go out to people, a program, but they also kind of show these ads throughout the online convention. They're oftentimes showing these banner ads for the various organizations and projects of Veterans for Peace, and they help support the convention. So we probably want to do an ad from this group for that week of action, or those weeks of action, and encourage Warheads to Windmills and all our other friends to do that. I'll send you the information on how to do an ad. So what's on my mind, we do have other things on the agenda here. We got a couple hands up too, but I want to think about how do we concretely move the next step to getting ourselves well organized to do this. How does Veterans for Peace most effectively collaborate with Warheads to Windmills and possibly the War Resistors, War Industry Resistors Network and others? Should there be some kind of super coalition? Should we have a meeting with all those groups, or should we just start sharing resources and putting our people together in the local areas, or any ideas about how to further our organizing? But and then whatever's on John Wilkes and Greg Corning's mind, they've got their hands up. John, go ahead.
I was just going to suggest to the person who's presenting, he should present this presentation to the VFP National Working Group, Militarism and Climate Change, because half of his 2-week program is non-nuclear, it's fossil fuel. So
right.
I think that's an avenue that he should pursue.
Absolutely. We've been reaching out to them in recent days, and I haven't heard back from them, but I'm sure they're thinking about this, and they may already be involved because Timon was telling us they're listed as part of the organizing committee for that week of action, that global week of action. But we'll definitely be working closely with the Climate Crisis and Militarism Project, and they have a lot of good resources, and they're doing some really good organizing. Greg, what did you have?
Well, my question changed. Now I'm thinking, you were asking, do we do a super coalition or something, meet with all the groups together? And so I'm newer at this than any of you guys. What have you done in the past? Like when you've tried, or not tried, when you have had a big like week of action or something, mm-hmm. What turned out to be the best way to coordinate everybody?
Good question. Well, Warheads to Windmills does encompass a number of those groups, including Veterans for Peace, are part of that. But I think that perhaps we should identify the main groups that are really going to be taking an initiative for that week, and have some kind of little meeting to get all our heads together and figure out how we can coordinate the best. What do you think, Timon?
Well, I was going to say, we do have a planning meeting tomorrow, and Gerry offered to join that. I don't know who's going to be there. We've had some difficulty getting this group to meet because it's summer and everybody's busy, but I think we will try to have a meeting once a week between now and September. It's not very long, and there's a lot of and just to get people to hear what's going on in the different groups and what the plans are, and try to coordinate as best we can.
Well, I think that planning meeting sounds great, even though it's 8 a.m. in the morning for my
sorry
time.
about that.
I hate to confess it, but I'm not always out of bed by that time.
Well, we can change it for the next one.
But that's good. I'll get up and I'll share that information with others here who may want to join the planning meeting. Alice, you got your hand up?
Yeah, this is coming out of left field, but what we're talking about, we want people to show up at Patel and Raytheon, right? We want crowds of people, right? I don't know if we have that within our network, but we have these kids that are like showing up all the time against the war in Gaza. And I think that should be part of our work to make Gaza like nuclear weapons, and it's war. It's the war machine, It's the war machine that's killing all these people in Gaza, and the people are making a killing by selling or giving the arms to Israel. So, I mean, I just think that that's an untapped resource that we have to think about, because this is like the 60s with Vietnam. This thing is swelling up aside from anything we've ever been doing. They're so organized. We should, I don't know how, I'm like over the hill.
Well, you were saying, Gerry, that there is a group in VFP that's going to be doing something the first week of September, specifically on Gaza.
Right. And they're also going to be reaching out to other folks in the Gaza movement.
Right. So hopefully,
go ahead, Tim.
Well, that might help build some momentum for the third week of September. You know, like if we get things, if people hear that there's things happening at these places, and we want them to come back. I mean, my concern about the first week of September, as I said, is that the students are just coming back literally that week in most places, and they're not going to be ready to do anything.
But when we want
if they hear about things that are happening, that could be, you know, their motivation to join us the third week of September.
Yeah. But what we want momentum is that they get it, that these arms manufacturers are what's killing everybody on the planet. Nuclear, climate, Gaza, Ukraine, you know, whatever war you're against, that's who's making the killing on the killing. And if we could somehow be very strategic about reaching out and getting the message so that they get it, and then they just pick it up, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a very good person to talk to would be Jill Stein. Does anybody know her? I know her. And Ralph Nader. I mean, Ralph Nader's been wonderful. Have you been reading what, you know, he should know what we're doing, because he has, you know, there's other connectors besides to these other people out. I mean, I'll talk to Jill. I know her.
Yeah, we can talk to Ralph. He's been, you know, he's on the advisory board of
I know.
He's
but maybe he should know about this that we're going to do.
He will know about it for sure. And he, by the way, he just made another $30,000 matching pledge to Veterans for Peace for the
and his writing, just like, I mean, it's like my soul is
trying to get Jeffrey Sachs on board, because we have a link to him.
Yeah, that would be great.
I know.
Yeah, he spoke at our
Jeffrey
convention
doesn't have a link to the grassroots like Ralph does or Jill. You know, Jeffrey's like with the policy. I mean, he's great.
So the thing about kids coming back to college and first week, do you think it might maybe have activists standing at literally at the gates of the college or the main entrances of the campus and handing out leaflets or having signs that those students are that way leaning anyway, might stop and take a leaflet, and it could be something that outlines what the rest of the month is going to be about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And they already have email lists. You know, they've set things up. I'm not sure how it is, but somebody knows, and that we could get out to them right now what's going on with us.
Yeah,
you know?
That's right. I think that's what we need to do.
We don't have to wait for them to come back to school in the fall, because they're talking to each other all the time right now, I can tell you.
All right.
Even if they're not demonstrating.
Great. Well, this is a very good discussion. We have a few other things on the agenda, and we try to keep these meetings to an hour. So I think that we're about ready to move on. And Tim, and you're welcome to stay with us, but you're also welcome to leave. Thank you so much for being here, and I'm really excited about our collaboration. It'll make a big difference to all of us, I think.
I'll leave you now, but I'm very excited to work together, and keep up all the good work. Thanks.
Terrific. You too. Thanks so much for being here. Okay. Anybody have any last words or comments? Cheers. If not, we'll move on, and we have John Wilkes, who's co-chair of the Depleted Uranium, Landmines, and what's the full name, John? Anyway, John's here to give us a little update from that group, which started out as a kind of a subgroup of our working group, but then became a working group in its own right. But we still have a strong connection. They always give us updates. So go ahead, John.
So thank you, Gerry. We are making great progress in collecting high-level members to our weekly Monday meeting that we have. We have established a website, posted many documents and written documents. we plan to have a workshop at the next national convention. But we also have I'll call it a study, a 17-mile area in New Mexico that has been permanently contaminated with depleted uranium. We are doing a study on how contaminated, and then we will follow up to the consequences of that contamination. It'll be very shocking when we release our findings. But what I want to talk to you about, I don't want to sound preachy, but I want to tell you that New Mexico has a dire crisis at the moment, and you need to know about it. We had a meeting with the NNSA administrator and the National Nuclear Security Administration, the people who make nuclear weapons. We had a meeting with her in this week in New Mexico, and also in attendance was the head of the DOE environmental management, which are it's the cleanup, nuclear cleanup arm of DOE. The meeting was an absolute disaster. It was such a disaster that we have a coalition called the Stop Whip Forever Coalition, of which I represent VFP in New Mexico. We will be writing to the governor next week, soundly howling about the meeting. We'll also be writing to our 5 members of our new congressional delegation on the same subject and doing op-eds. Basically, where we're at is this. The regulators will not talk to us. They will not share. They will not hear us. At the meeting we just had, there were 500 people. Greg was in attendance. We had 350 in person, and we had 150 online. We only 17 people were allowed to talk. The biggest outrage of that was that it was at a casino owned by a pueblo on Pueblo land in northern New Mexico. We had 5 governors there from the different pueblos and tribes. They were disrespected. They were shunned. They were rudely treated. That is a big thing in New Mexico. So the reason that I want to bring to your attention is this.
Who treated them rudely?
Both of the so-called hosts.
Mm-hmm.
They were not acknowledged. They had to literally fight to get to the mic. The only reason they were allowed to speak is a county commissioner spoke up. And I want to tell you where we're at with the development of the pits. Everyone here knows what a pit is. Los Alamos is required by Congress. We have to remember that. The legislative arm of our national government has ordered that 80 pits a year will be manufactured.
It's under Obama.
Yeah, okay. And the NNSA has decided the way to do that is to manufacture them in 2 places. Los Alamos is ahead of the curve in getting ready to make pits. They have only made 6. They are required to make 30 a year, but they're ramping up. The budget of Los Alamos for 2024 is $5.15 billion. The budget every year gets larger. This is a project larger than the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
So the pits that they're going to make in Los Alamos go on the W87-1 warhead, which will mount on the Sentinel ICBM, 450 ICBMs. They would be MIRVed, 3 warheads per Sentinel. Now, they cannot make those weapons without more electricity. And the place they choose to put their 3rd electrical power line is through a sacred area of all of the tribes and pueblos in New Mexico. I I won't go into detail of why it's so sacred. Just take my word for it. The Pueblos are up in arms. You cannot defile this. Basically, the power line goes through BLM property, land management. It goes through this sacred area. It goes through a national forest. Then it goes through a county, Los Alamos County land, and then on to the Pajarito Plateau, which is Los Alamos. So we have that lever and we must push on it. Now, the second thing they need, and they don't have, is housing for their workers. To make these pits, they have to operate 24/7. There is no housing, and the NNSA and DOE have stated they will not subsidize or build housing. So what's happening is it's putting a big strain on the housing in the immediate area of the lab. Mm-hmm. And then there's only one way in Los Alamos by surface transportation and one way out. So the problem is, how do you get these thousands of workers, each ship, up the hill into Los Al? The answer is you shuttle them, because there's no other way to do it.
So that gives you another pressure point, John.
Exactly.
Are you going to wrap us up and let us know how we can support that effort?
Well, I want to make this comment before we go any further. You know that New Mexico has been nuclear colonized and contaminated through every source, every effort. 1,100 unclaimed mines, release of tritium from the lab at will at night, spills, the 1948 sumps, dumps, and pits at the mine. The lab have never been removed or cleaned up. They're polluting this area. They have now polluted the Rio Grande with, documented with plutonium. They're out of control. But here it comes. This is the big key. There is only one place in this nation to put true waste, which is transuranic waste. Waste that's on the periodic table above number 92. Okay. We're not talking low-level waste. We're not talking spent fuel from utilities. We're talking the waste that is generated when you make nuclear weapons. It is, of course, in New Mexico. So there is this huge fight over, do we put into the WIP, which is the place, it's a pilot plant that was supposed to close in 2024, and they want to double its size. They want to extend the life until 2083 at the earliest, and they want to change the criteria of what goes in it. Like pure plutonium is not supposed to go in it, but they want to change that. So the question is this: every lab, every manufacturer of nuclear weapons puts their waste there. It comes from all over the country. There are 22 different entities that put material in the WIP, but only 13 are really substantial. The largest, of course, is the Idaho National Lab. So do you put what's called legacy waste, which is existing waste, or no, do we put the new waste by being generated by these new pit manufacturers? The next meeting will be on 28 August with believe it or not, the EPA. The EPA has to change the charter of the WIP so that it can be enlarged, extended, and other things can go in it. That is what we have to fight. We will go to that meeting, but I encourage everyone to go and jump up and down. Now, what we're trying to get out of that meeting is the EPA is considering simply making an internal decision. We, the EPA, have talked among ourselves and we approve the plan. Or are they going to use a rule-making protocol? The rule-making protocol gives us the chance to have public hearings, have comments, and to sue them with an injunction if we don't feel they have done that process properly. So that's the biggest pressure point, that that Veterans for Peace has is to attend the meeting virtually on 28 August and lobby for the rulemaking protocol to go into effect. Now, I want to close.
Can you share that information with us in the chat, and also at the VFP convention? Maybe I encourage you to maybe purchase an ad there that has that information about the meeting on the 28th, and use the convention as a way of encouraging people to chime in there. But I'll let you finish up, but I do want you to finish up, please. We need to move on.
Okay. So we're going to make these pits in two places, and one of them is in South Carolina, and one of them is Los Alamos. The waste from the Savannah River site has to be trucked to the pit, transiting many states. But that's not the worst of it. Right now, there's 52 metric tons of surplus plutonium. This goes way back from when Rocky Flats was in existence.
So, John, I'm sorry, but this presentation, it's all interesting, but it's going on and getting into even more details. Can you share that with us another way? We could set up a special meeting for you to make a presentation like this, but we don't want to use up the rest of our time here.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
So any final point about how you see Veterans for Peace and the Nuclear Abolition Working Group supporting these efforts?
If you're asking me, it's basically attend the meeting with the EPA and strongly lobby for the rulemaking protocol to be invoked.
All right. And
John, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Carol.
The meeting's in New Mexico, right?
Yes, it's in Santa Fe.
So will it also be Zoom?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are you going to share the link or?
When it exists, I will.
Okay.
You're going to be writing about this too, I bet, John. Or somebody else is. Well, how can we? I'm sure Greg's taken some notes, but how do we get more detail? The kind of detail you were giving us for future reference.
You go on to one of two websites: the Concerned Citizens for Nuclear Safety (CCNS), or you go on to the coalition website, which is the Stop Forever WIP Coalition. WIP is WIPP.
Thanks very much, John. Sorry to cut you off, but we need to move.
Understood.
I wanted to welcome a couple friends who joined us a little later in the meeting. My good pal Al Gokowski and my wonderful friend Anthony Donovan. We had a really good discussion earlier on with Tim and Wallace. I don't think you were here for that. But we're going to be working closely with the Warheads to Windmills campaign and others for 2 weeks of action, at least 2 weeks of action in mid-late September against funding for nuclear weapons and against and protesting against the corporations that are contributing to global warming.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And Al and Anthony, if you have a few words to share with us. Everybody else got to introduce themselves. I know Al's been went to meet Netanyahu yesterday, so he probably has something to say. How'd that go, Al?
It was an incredible experience, including in the tear gas. But it was, we went up ringside. Anthony was with me. We went up there together with the whole crew. And I would like to have him say something about it. And by the way, thank you for joining in with us there, Anthony. I love you. Anthony, for those of you that don't know, Anthony and I go back for almost 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that would put him in prison with you. No, I'm sorry. Never mind.
That was Gerry. That was Gerry who visited me. He visited me in prison many years ago.
Yeah.
But Anthony, please.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And Timon and I were also doing a lot of lobbying, a week and a half ago, and we were supposed to go see Alice Slater on here, but it didn't work out. But we really intended to go see you, Alice, and we were both looking forward to that because she's part of our vital team. So it's great to feel the circle here. Well, I was actually on a bus, Israelis for a ceasefire. So I went down with a whole busload full of Israelis, which was really, we're all on huge learning curves here. So that was quite an experience listening to their rationale and what they're going through. And they still have family and homes all throughout Israel. So but they hate Netanyahu and can't believe he's addressing the Congress and can't believe that American people are, when 70% of Israelis want him out, and here's the United States embracing them. But yeah, I mean, I wish there were many, many thousands more, but as long as Al was there, I was fine. And it was good. There were some great speeches. Jill Stein was there, and I'll just say the head of the U.S. Postal Union was there, and he was fantastic, right, Al? So
good to hear.
Yeah. Anyway, so thank you. It was all the little we all can do about this horror, and yeah, thank you.
Well, you know what Netanyahu is calling you guys?
Yes.
Iran's useful idiots.
Yeah.
And then
I'm a useful idiot.
I've been called a self-hating Jew for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks. Okay, well, a couple other quick things on our agenda, and one was just to hear a rundown of if people are planning activities around the Hiroshima and Nagasaki days. We're not, as the VFP Nuclear Abolition Working Group, we haven't made any particular initiative for those days, but I know that a number of us will be participating in various local commemorations, including the Golden Rule. It's going to be in the Seattle area for that, and we're going to be doing some things with Ground Zero Center for Nonviolent Resistance over by the Bangor Trident Submarine Base. And later on, we're going to be having a Boats to Bangor event like we did in 2016 with the Golden Rule and a bunch of kayaktivists protesting outside the Trident Submarine Base there, 25 miles west of Seattle. There's also going to be a Hiroshima Nagasaki commemoration that Seattle Veterans for Peace, now the Daniel Ellsberg chapter, is going to be participating in, and we're going to be part of that. Any other reports or thoughts about things that we might still do that we're not doing yet around those days?
Well, I can tell you, Jerry, what I'm trying to do in Tennessee, because I reached out to the Japanese consulate here, and I reached out to the Japanese Communities Center in Nashville, and neither one are doing anything. And so I'm going to work with the Peace and Justice group here and at least go to what we call the Tomato Festival. And I'm not allowed to do much, but I am going to make a sandwich board and just say, help me tell Mayor Freddie O'Connell, our mayor here, to sign on to Veterans for Peace. And because I've got a little petition and I want to get to 1,000 signatures, and I'm stuck at 144. And so I'm gonna do that. But I was just really disappointed that our local Japanese community is sitting on its hands for August 6th and 9th.
Well, hold it. Did you say Tomato Festival?
Yeah, they have a tomato festival here.
Okay. So, we had somebody from San Diego Veterans for Peace, Vic White, on the call earlier, but I know that they are working with the local Japanese community there to do a special annual commemoration that they do every year. And Alice, you got something?
Yeah, I am so upset with the Japanese. They're under the U.S. nuclear umbrella. They're getting rid of their peace caucus. The government, the Japanese, rather than remembering Hiroshima and Nagasaki, how about getting your government to say no nuclear weapons and sign the ban treaty? I mean, they're so hypocritical there. So just to keep saying how awful Hiroshima and Nagasaki, I mean, do something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I mean, not that we should memorialize it. It's terrible, but I mean, make it into something where you're going to get your government to help give up the bomb for everybody. You know, it's not just one terrible thing that happened to you. It's just like we're at a funny time now, the way we have to think anew or something, or differently.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm excited, Gerry, and I'm sorry I missed it, but that for that week also we can team up with Warheads to Windmills, because I know we're doing things, and whatever we're doing, if it's lobbying or something, that we can definitely, this group could zoom in, or I know for a lot of our meetings we had people zooming on the Zoom in the offices with us. So maybe something like that can work out. We have a lot of events, of course, in New York City around the UN. One of them is going to the Japanese consulate. Every year we write a letter. We personally deliver it upstairs to the Japanese consulate. I've been pushing for years, and Alice probably knows, but I mean, to get really much tougher on the language, because we've been apologizing for the bombing. And I'm like, I'm not apologizing to you guys anymore. You're supporting. I'll always apologize to those who died, but they are supporting and facilitating our nuclear weapon industry.
Right.
And so anyway, I'm with you. I can't stand
Not
it.
the Japanese people, but the government, So
That's right, the government.
The Japanese people have to shift and understand, it's not just enough to be sorry that we dropped the bomb.
Thank you. That's an important discussion. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, Susan Lamont, go ahead.
Yeah, here in Sonoma County, they've done this before. There's a tree planting. There's a tree that survived in Hiroshima and that they've taken seedlings from and taken them around the world. And we've planted several of them in Sonoma County. And that's going to be happening again. But Gerry's also, I don't know how you're going to do this, Gerry, with all the things you say that the Golden Rule is doing. But I forwarded an article of his to the the Green Party's Peace Action Committee that I'm on. And they liked it so much, they got in touch with him, and we're doing a webinar on nuclear dangers on the 6th. And Gerry said he'd do it. How are you going to do that?
Well, it's going to be a Zoom thing, and I should manage to. Yeah, I got that call, and I wasn't sure if that was just a New York Green Party or if it was national.
It's national.
Okay, so, and there are going to be several speakers on that, right? I'm not the
Yes,
only
there
one.
are. Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and I'll
good.
be sending I just got the link and everything, and I'll be sending it to all the different VFP groups too, as well as Green Party.
Yeah. Well, the article that I wrote and shared around, published a couple places, the main point seems like a no-brainer, but it still needs to be said over and over again, I think. And that is, if we're serious about avoiding and averting nuclear war, a nuclear holocaust, then we have to be serious about ending the wars that are going on right now. The U.S. proxy war against Russia and Ukraine, and certainly the war in Gaza, and the plans for war against China. U.S. we have to turn around our foreign policy, or there's little hope of getting rid of nuclear weapons, and there's every reason to expect nuclear war. So that's it. But it needs to be said, and I think it's important for the anti-nuclear movement to become an anti-war movement, and the anti-war movement to become an anti-nuclear movement. And to some extent, that's already true, but there's a lot of room for progress. So that's my point.
Pro-climate. Like, we got to put those things together, because that's where all the energy is.
You're
going to
right.
want to die by nuclear holocaust or climate catastrophe. I mean, we have to all work together to stop all of it. And there's more of us if we see it as one thing.
Okay, thank you, Alice. You're right. The last thing on my agenda here is the VFP convention coming up August 16th to 18th. Relatively few people have registered already, so please go online and register. It's a little bit of financial commitment, but not very much. It's not like having to fly to the convention. But please register and support the convention. And I want to mention that there is, our working group did not apply or for a workshop, a panel this year. Actually, if we thought about it earlier, we probably would have, but we didn't. But nonetheless, there is an anti-nuclear panel that other people have taken the initiative with. And I mentioned earlier, Elliot Adams, former VFP president, recently was in Japan and Hiroshima in a meeting that was convened by South Koreans who were victims of the Hiroshima. They were working in Japan. So quite a few Koreans were also killed and otherwise traumatized for life by those Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings. So this group is now working to organize a tribunal in New York City and sometime in 2026 to officially declare the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings illegal according to the laws that were in existence at the time. And their purpose is to build more. Their purpose is to build more leverage for the abolition of nuclear weapons, basically. But at any rate, Elliot and I think Ann Wright and somebody from South Korea are going to be presenting that workshop at the convention. That should be quite interesting. And then I think the convention organizers are also encouraging everybody to buy ads. And you can either create your own ad or Veterans for Peace will design it for $25, and then the ad costs a little bit more. I think it would make a good sense for our working group to submit an ad promoting the week of action. So I doubt if anybody will disagree with that. I'll start getting that in motion.
So how much does it cost? How much do we have to put up? Like $10 or something? Or?
It's I'd have to look again. It's more like 40 or 50, I think. And then if you've seen it, and it goes in the printed program, which some of us will get after the convention, but it also, as you've seen in the last few years, since we've had these conventions online, they've actually been remarkably well organized and well attended. But in between the different panels and workshops, they're running these banner ads repeatedly. And so it'd be good for us to have a good looking ad promoting that week of action, or those weeks of action, as the case may be. So I'll get working on that, and then maybe I'll take up a collection later on to pay for the ad.
I'm in.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Not for a lot, because I don't have a lot.
So I got through my agenda, or our agenda, but if there's other things we haven't discussed, or there's other comments people would like to make about things we have discussed, now's your chance.
I would like to just emphasize that, I love what Timon was saying about the companies, going after the companies, because that kind of segs with what Mike Ferner's been saying. It's like, you guys have been working for decades, and, the progress has not been what you would expect for the amount of effort. So now I think hitting people in the pocketbook is that's where to go now. And along with that, I put in a plug for Code Pink's local peace economy initiative. That is, it's one of those little things that I think is going to grow into something that if people can get unplugged from the war economy, which is what the big economy is, it's the war economy, they won't have money. I mean, they live off of our work and ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So go look up Code Pink's local peace economy. It's pretty cool.
Anthony, that's your cue.
I was just scratching my head.
I know.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I know. Well, I just support, even though I've been with ICAN from the start with their divestment campaigns, et cetera, long before them. I still think it's worthy that individuals think about divesting their personal accounts, their checking accounts, their savings accounts, to a place where their money isn't being used, because our money is being used as an asset for any bank that we're in. And all the big banks are the conduits for our military industry, for nuclear weapons, for all this. So Wells Fargo, Chase, American, Bank of America, Citibank, if you're in any of these banks, we're all, that money, your money is part of that conduit. So I just ask people to take also, not only think about divesting and giving the big corporations, but each of us can take our tiny little money out. And if you have investments, if you're wealthy enough to have investments, absolutely look at your portfolios. There are many different areas where we can all do that. But yeah, so thank you. That's my 2 cents. Amalgamated Bank is, of course, the one bank I know that has policies that doesn't allow for any use of its assets towards any armament company. So that's a safe place to move to. And everything's online today, so you don't have to have a brick and mortar place.
Anthony, there's one here in town in Fresno called Beneficial State
Beneficial?
Bank.
Cool. Yeah, there may be others, and I'd love to know about others. And have you spoken to them about their policies? They've told you they have actually. Now, do they have every banker will have advisors that can steer you to where to put your money, but as a bank, is it owned by a larger bank? Beneficial?
No, it's owned by a foundation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know,
Great.
North Dakota doesn't allow a private bank. The state owns the bank. It doesn't make money. It pays this is like unusual. It's the only place in America where there's no private bank. It's a state bank. They pay them good salaries. There's no profits. And so everything's getting steered back into the community. I mean, there's a lot of banking things. I want to say something about the nuclear waste. I'm so upset about the pits, that they're saying pits like you think it's a pit that you're going to spit. It's an atom bomb. The pit is the trigger of the hydrogen bomb, which is big as the bomb that dropped on Hiroshima. And that's what they're making more of. Like we already have there's 15,000 on the planet and 14,000 in the US and Russia. So we already have 7,000 pits that we don't have to worry about. But the other thing is they want to bury it. They're figuring out the best. You can't bury it. You got to keep it where it is. You got to keep it above ground where it is. Watch it under guns, gates, and guards, and just watch it until we figure something out. You know, string theory says there are 10 dimensions. Maybe in 100 years we'll get up into the 5th dimension or the 6th. We don't know where that dimension is right now. But you can't bury it. This is like awful. And I heard Grace Thorpe was Jim Thorpe's daughter, the Native American Olympic star. And she was very integrated into American society and went back to her tribe to visit in Oklahoma, the Sac and Fox tribe. And the chief was making a deal to get a lot of money to bury nuclear waste on the reservation. And she stopped it, and she became an anti-nuclear activist and said, here's the rules. Stop making more. Don't bury it. Don't ship it. Put it in the best, safest container. You know, in Indian Point, New York, they're putting it in leaky containers where you can't even get them to put it in the good German casks that they already invented, you know. It's like, it has to be very simple. It can't be complicated like they're doing now. It has to be simple. There's nothing we know about it. The simplest thing is don't move it, don't make any more, keep it where it is, and put it in the best container.
Okay, Alice and Anthony, we're trying to wrap up here, but final comments.
Just a quick, I missed all of the presentation of the man that was talking about this subject, but is he working with Los Alamos Study Group?
Yeah, they're having a meeting.
I didn't mention him.
He's working with he didn't mention Los Alamos.
He worked at 2 others.
He's the co-coordinator of Albuquerque Veterans for Peace and the co-chair of the VFP depleted uranium, etc. working group.
And he's also involved with
They should definitely align with that.
I-
Thank you. That's it.
I'd be surprised if they don't know each other.
They all know each other, I think.
Yeah.
They're all together.
But he didn't mention it when he talked about the group. And to me,
Because some of them prefer the other one. There's two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw Greg. Did you see Greg
They're all
Mello's?
on the same page now that they don't want this regulation to be.
Right.
They're trying to get a better regulation from the.
Greg Mello sent something out yesterday or the day before that said he's got new information that makes it look like those new ICBMs are not really going to happen.
That would be good. I didn't see.
Because of the money.
Yeah, because of the money and other issues. So he was kind of said he had some good news to share about that because he's been talking to people who know in the know in DC. Anyway, we'll hear more about that later. And then, I wanted to mention again in terms of the convention, there will be a workshop also on how to carry out protests at the weapons manufacturers. And that's going to be Jack Gilroy and I think Nick Modern and maybe others. So we're going to have a whole month of September where we're going to be targeting weapons manufacturers, nuclear weapons manufacturers, manufacturers that are sending weapons to Gaza, and manufacturers that are contributing not just weapons manufacturers, but the whole energy industry who's destroying the planet right now. And Susan, what do you got?
I just wanted to mention that when we have gone to demonstrate at the General Dynamics place in Healdsburg, which is a tiny, tiny town, we handed out, one of the most important things you can do is let people know that this is actually happening. A lot of people don't even know. We handed out all these flyers, hundreds of them, and encountered almost no one who knew that this was happening in their town. So that's basically your first step.
Right. Yeah, like in Seattle, it's amazing. The Trident nuclear submarine base, like I say, 25 miles west of Seattle. They've got, I think, 8 Trident submarines there. Each one of them has enough firepower to destroy the civilization by itself.
Yeah.
And people in the Seattle area don't even know it's there, or a lot of them. So recently, the Ground Zero Center for Nonviolent Action, which has taken the lead there on opposing Trident submarines, they are putting up billboards, letting people know. Did you know what's in your neighborhood here? Which makes you, of course, a priority target if there's any nuclear war. So hopefully they'll have some impact there. But billboards is another thing that we should look at using.
Yeah. They're expensive.
Okay.
But they get.
We got Girl Beyond War. I'm on the board. We got Gerry Condon, Ben and Jerry's ice cream. They were always peacenik guys. They started funding some of our billboards, so it's good. He likes to do billboards in case we're looking for somebody to fund them.
Who's funding?
Ben from Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Saw Anthony's comment there in the chat, and one thing I found very interesting in this discussion, we were talking about the various protests in September for a ceasefire in Gaza, targeting the weapons manufacturers, for no nuclear weapons, targeting the nuclear weapons manufacturers, for climate crisis catastrophe, targeting some of the same companies, including the oil companies. And I noticed in this discussion that nobody had a problem with these things coinciding with one another, with having them overlapping with one another, with having them talked about together in the same conversation. So that's very encouraging because we know that they all link together well. I think we could have a really dynamic month of September, and then we'll learn a lot from that process, and we'll be able to do it even bigger and better a few months later. So I'm really excited about that. So thank you, everybody, for being here, for contributing to that.
Thank you, Gerry.
And
thanks for being so wonderful.
see you all soon.
Okay.
Good night, Al.
Safe sailing, brother Gerry.
Thank you so much. We're going to sail tomorrow.